Good evening, everybody. I'm Derek Michaud, and it's time to go flush in the pocket. Presented by Brunswick, sponsored by Just in Time Recreation. Check them out at justintimebowl.com. Tonight we have a guy who's pretty okay at bowling. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but EJ Tackett, Google him. 21 titles and five titles last year. He had a monster 2023. EJ Tackett, man, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm awesome. Two-time player of the year, rookie of the year in 2013. 300 on TV. Am I missing anything? I mean, you've done a lot.
I don't know. It's hard to keep up with it all.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thanks for doing this, and I guess let's get started. There was a time when nobody knew who you were, except your friends and family, because you were just getting started in the bowling scene or in the bowling at all. When did you start bowling?
I started bowling when I could pick up a bowling ball and shove it down the lane, pretty much. My dad got me in very early. My dad's bowled forever. He bowled a little bit on tour. He bowled one summer tour, and then he bowled the regional tour for a few years. So he kind of got my whole family into bowling. Some of them did it kind of recreationally a long time ago, but Dad's the one that really took it serious and got the whole family into bowling.
Okay. So who coached you? Was it him?
My dad.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, my dad's been my coach my entire life. Obviously, I've been on Team USA, and I've talked to guys like Mark Baker and Brian O'Keefe, and everybody that's associated with Team USA that does coaching. But I've never really worked with anyone. Obviously, I've had plenty of conversations with them about what I do and stuff. But if I have an issue with my game, it's definitely I called Dad up and said, "Hey, I need to come practice. I need you to come see what's wrong."
Okay. And we got Adam here. He watched a few shows. Adam, good to see you. Hello, EJ Tackett, he says.
Hi, Adam.
Yeah. How old were you when you started to get good? And like the way you throw it now, how old were you when you kind of developed that and your style right now?
Yeah, I started throwing it one-handed when I was about 6 or 7 years old. And Dad just, he taught me basic fundamentals of bowling, right? Trying to get your timing right, trying to, do all of these things. And then he just let me kind of develop on my own. So, 7 or 8 years old, I was watching bowling on, it started on, I started watching on Saturday afternoons, and then it went into Sundays. But, watching guys like Pete and Tommy Jones are the two that really come to mind that, really hooked the ball. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I want to do that. So I just learned how to do it. And I had the advantage of being able to bowl as many games as I wanted with my parents owning a bowling center. So I definitely took advantage of that. And you couldn't get me out of the bowling center. I bowled more games than you could ever even fathom. One of my dad's favorite stories to tell is Christmas Day in 1999. I cried on the way home because he made me quit bowling. And he made me quit bowling after I bowled 54 games.
What?
Yeah, I was just mad because I wanted to see how many games I could bowl.
How old are you in 99?
7.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
There ain't no way I could do that now. It's hard enough to get through 16 games in the U.S. Open when match play comes around.
Wait a minute. You know what? I think I'm going to call the USBC and say, hey, man, I think you should do 56 games on Monday and the finals on Tuesday. EJ's your guy. He got you. When you were bowling...
I'd have to give the 100% advantage to the two-handers goes there because they don't have to put the thumb in it. So that's not... Well, you got to think about it. You don't have to put your thumb in it. You're definitely going to get beat up less. So, I mean, if we're going to bowl that many games in a day, a two-hander is more than likely going to win that.
So has this ever been said to you? You're this generation's Robert Smith. I get it.
I
See
mean,
it.
I think we've been compared a couple of times, but I don't even rev it like Bobby did. He revved the crap out of it. I'm not on his level, nor do I want to be. I want my body to last.
Oh man. Yeah. Do you wish you were bowling in the 90s on ABC, or are you okay bowling now, who you're bowling with now?
I mean, every generation has great players, right?
Right.
Obviously, that '90s era was incredible for the great bowlers that were bowling that time. You had Albee, you had Walter Ray, you had Norm, Pete, Parker. Like I said, Albee was still bowling it, and then you had guys like Randy. Who else during that time? I'm sure I'm missing a ton, but great players, a bunch of Hall of Famers that were just during that time. You know, I think bowling went through a little lull in the late 2000s, but college programs were becoming more popular, you know, in the early to mid and late 2000s. So as they've become more popular, I think over the last 10 years, we've started to see a huge byproduct of how big college bowling is and how good everyone is on the PBA Tour now.
Okay.
So I think you know, we could probably say, you know, the last 10 years and the next 10 years, we're kind of getting that group of guys again where there's a bunch of them. You know, right now over the last 10 years, you've got guys like Chris Barnes, Bill O'Neill, Tommy Jones, Jason Belmonte, Wes Malott, myself, Simo, Kyle, Chris Prather. Like, these are all guys that are either in the Hall of Fame already or at some point will be in the Hall of Fame. I think the only person on that list I just mentioned that isn't already Hall of Fame eligible is Chris Prather. He might already be. I know he's won 2 majors. He's got 5 titles, so that would make him a Hall of Fame eligible. So maybe everybody's already eligible for the Hall of Fame. So we've got this group of guys, and then we have, you know, guys coming up that are really good that went through college programs, or guys that are still in the college program that you're like, wow, when they come out on tour, like, you know, that's another guy I'm gonna have to worry about. And you know, both of the Bone Boys, for example, they're going to be a threat.
Yeah.
And we have to prepare for that. So I think bowling itself is making a great comeback. PTQs are full every single week. You have guys fighting to get into the tournament. And there's a lot of good bowlers that don't get into the fields every single week. There's guys that could potentially win that aren't getting in the fields. And it's cool to see that many people are trying to win every single week and have the opportunity to win every single week.
Sure. Are you at Easy Bowl right now?
I am.
Nice. There you go.
Natalie's Bowling League.
Hey, there you go. She's probably going to shoot 900. No, man, I hope I didn't jinx anything.
No. I don't know what she bowled the first game. They're about to halfway through the second game right now.
There you go. So how old were you when you were like, okay, the tour might be a possibility. I better get ready and condition myself I mean, I'm assuming you've always been in good shape, but like, how old were you when you thought, this might be a possibility?
I was about 19. I went to college to play golf. I had no aspiration to bowl on the PGA Tour. I wanted to play golf on the PGA Tour, and that was the only thing that my mind was focused on. But I went to college, absolutely hated school, which I never liked it to begin with. It was just, there was a lot of things going on, and life was going on at that time. Working 2 jobs, going to school, staying at home, driving in an hour to school. And I think it wore me down, and it affected my golf. It affected my schooling. And I just wasn't happy with what I was doing. I felt like I was wasting my time. So I decided to drop out of school and go bowl on the PBA Tour. I watched guys like Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Xander Schauffele. You know, I played against these guys in tournaments, and they're all winning big events on the PGA Tour now. And they were just plain and simple, they were better than me. And it was glaring. So I decided to, go try my hand on the PBA Tour. I always, I believed in myself and my bowling abilities. When I went out on tour, I always thought that I could win. I knew eventually one day I'd have a week that all came together and I would win a tournament. I didn't think I would be where I am. You know, it's not that I didn't believe in myself, but it's hard to fathom, in 12 years to won as much as I have and done all the things that I've done.
Sure.
But it always just comes back to I've always just believed in myself. And I go out there and try to bowl the best that I can every single time. Sometimes that's winning and sometimes that's missing a cut. But you just got to shoot up for the next event and go do your best again.
Right. So you might have answered it, but what pushed you over the edge and said, okay, I'm going on tour now?
It was when, I didn't like to go to college anymore.
Okay.
And I didn't want to work a job. So I'm like, I'm going to go try to bowl and see if that works out.
Now
I think I've done okay.
a little bit. No. Yeah, you definitely have. So why not? So why not the PGA Tour? Why didn't that go?
I am not good enough.
Really?
Oh, those guys are incredibly good.
I've heard things about you.
I'm a good player. Listen, Derek, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm a good golfer. But those guys are unbelievable, right? So it's like saying that a good house bowler that goes to tournaments and he averages, 180 or 190 events. It's like, he's close, but he's just not those guys on tour. That's where I was.
So it's like if you've seen me bowl, I'm far from a 220 average bowler, but if I'm a 220 average bowler in my house and I bowl in Maine and then I go to the USBC Masters and average 160, it's like that. I mean, right?
I would probably say in golf I was slightly better than that because golf is just so different, where it's always kind of just getting the ball in the hole, where bowling is a little more, you got to get your bowling ball to do different things, right? Golf is just getting your ball in the hole. I was probably a little bit better than that, but not by much. So, I mean, it's a close comparison. I can play good at home, but you take me out where those guys on tour play, I ain't shooting 65 anymore. I can shoot 65 at home. I can't do it out there.
Adam says he was a bowler on tour. He wants to know if you think if you think he's a good bowler, if he's a 220 average.
I mean, you're definitely, looking at the whole scope of bowlers, right? If you take professionals out of it, I mean, averaging 220 in the league has to put you in the top, probably 5%, 5 or 10% around the world, maybe even higher. I mean, you're a good league bowler, but that doesn't, just because you can bowl good in league doesn't mean that you can compete against the best players in the world on the PBA Tour.
Absolutely. What was it like, EJ, to bowl the U.S. Open at 17 years old?
Daunting.
Okay.
It was scary. It was a scary experience.
That was 2011, right?
No, that was actually 2010.
Okay,
my first U.S. Open was. It was the U.S. Open that Bill won in Indianapolis was my first one.
Okay.
I was scared. I'm out here bowling against guys that I've been watching on TV as a junior in high school. It was an experience for sure. Now the next year in New Jersey at Carolier is the one that I finished 18th, I believe, or I finished in that one. I was a senior in high school, 18 years old. And that was kind of crazy, making match play there and bowling all the guys I've watched on TV my entire life. That was so cool. I beat a few. I mean, I think I won like 5 or 7 matches out of the 24. And there's a few that I distinctly remember. I beat Mike. I think I beat Mike Fagan.
Mhm.
I think I beat Mika. I beat Tommy Jones, and I beat Norm Duke. And that is the U.S. Open that Norm Duke won and beat Mika in.
Yep.
So I beat the two guys in match play that finished 1-2, and it was just like, what? What? I beat those guys, and I mean, it's only one game, right? But it's still the U.S. Open. So at the time, it was a big deal for me to beat those guys, and it was like I came home and I was like, yeah, I beat Norm Duke in match play at the U.S. Open. I didn't tell him that he threw 7 different bowling balls while he did it because he was fishing for some, a good look on the lane. Threw 7 different balls and bowled a clean like 197 or something. I'm like, how did you do that? You threw a different ball every shot.
Did you really? Wow. Well, I mean, think about it. It's a big deal because it's a big deal. Like, it was a big deal to me to bowl shots in front of you at spare time in Augusta. And you probably don't think it's a big deal. Like, I'm just EJ Tackett, whatever. Yeah. But to me, you're like bigger than the world, right? And, and it was just, that's just another clinic. But to me, to pay money to do that, I would do that in a heartbeat every time.
It's always fun because I know there's a lot of people that, they really get a lot of enjoyment out of that. And, I always try to offer the best advice that I possibly can to make sure that, not only are you getting to meet us, but, you're getting value for the money and time you're spending there with us too.
Yep. Yeah. What was the difference? I know we talked about it, but what was the difference? Why were you so scared in 2010 versus 2011? Because in 2011, you won those matches. It's the same tournament. Was it because do I belong here?
Well, I did feel like I belonged a little bit more because I was coming off of qualifying for Team USA about a month prior to that out in Vegas. I finished 3rd at team trials and got myself on Junior Team USA and Team USA. So I had a lot of confidence in myself going into that event. And then I bowled well and I kind of carried it over. So, when you give anybody in the world that's got enough game to bowl on patterns like that, you give them confidence, it's huge. Almost anything can happen when someone has confidence.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But is there, let's see, was there a moment when you were bowling on tour and you felt like before you got really successful where you were like, geez, I don't know if I belong here?
No, I don't think I ever felt like that, actually. My first event that I ever bowled as a member was the Winter's Swing in Detroit, and it was 3 separate events, and I cashed in all 3 events. So I came out there and cashed in all 3 events. I said, okay, well, that's a good start. And for a long time on tour, it was one of the things that I prided myself on was being able to find a way to, get a check. Whether I had a good look on the lanes or not, I most of the time I was able to find a way. And that really gave me a lot of confidence going forward because it's something I still, pride myself on is, even when I don't bowl so good, more times than not, I find a way to take a check home. Mm-hmm. So I never really felt like I didn't belong. I was able to hang out with some of the guys that are on Team USA and, they welcomed me with open arms. There was a little bit of hazing that went on, but that's just for the territory, right? Being the rookie out there. It was all in good fun, and we had a great time. And, it's like I said, I never felt like I didn't belong. And it was always just, that confidence that I always had in myself that, I'm supposed to be here and I'm going to go bowl like I'm supposed to be here. So that's Absolutely. What I did.
What was your best moment on tour?
Well, I mean, to date, the best moment is winning the U.S. Open last year, for sure.
Really?
Having the whole family there, minus Trip. Obviously, he hasn't been around for a win yet. Hopefully, I can change that soon. But
you will.
Mom and Dad and Natalie, and I had probably 15 or 20 friends and family in the crowd that day. And a goal of mine has always been to win in the state of Indiana. And there was no better place to do it than Woodland Bowl, with so much history that's happened inside those four walls. And then you put on top of that, it completed the Triple Crown for me, and it's the U.S. Open. I mean, it's the U.S. Open. So,
it's the U.S. Open. It's the freaking U.S. Open. Like where it all started for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it started in Indianapolis. My first one I ever bowled was in Indianapolis, 14 years prior. So I bowled junior gold at Woodland Bowl. Well, they did the finals there, but I bowled it junior gold there 3 times. The first junior gold I ever bowled was in Indianapolis in 2005 when I was 12 years old. So I had a lot of firsts that happened at Woodland Bowl, and I certainly got a lot of great memories that's happened inside that building.
Oh, yeah, definitely. What was it like 2015 versus 2016, the World Championship, losing to Gary Faulkner, and then, like, first off, before we get to what happened in 2016, how heartbreaking was that loss?
It was devastating. At the time, I think I'd only made, that might have been like my second or third major TV show at that time. I was devastated because, at the time I didn't even have, I think I had one win when I lost that World Championship. I'd won my first title that summer. And, it's like being the number 1 seed bowling for a championship. It's like, I don't know how many of these chances I'm going to get. So it was devastating to bowl so bad. But, I picked myself up. I came back in 2016 and I bowled really well the whole season. And I won Player of the Year. I went from 1 title to being a Player of the Year in a season. So that was pretty cool.
Okay. So 2016 happens. What is the week like for you when you go and you're winning the World Championship? What is that week? You're like, shit, I had this last year and it slipped out of my hands. Are you thinking about that, or is it just a new tournament? And then
it's a new tournament. You have to, the only thing you can reflect on is what did you learn from that experience? You can't reflect on all the negative things, because if you do, those negative thoughts are going to start creeping back in, and that's detrimental to everything, right? You lose confidence in yourself, and then you start throwing bad shots, and then you lose the tournament again. So it's all about just, okay, what did I do last year that prevented me from having an opportunity to win the championship, and what can I do better next time? So it's focused on, making those small changes. There was a big change for me personally from 2015 to 2016. I hadn't bowled on very many TV shows, and I was kind of learning what my body did when I got in those situations with, all the nerves and adrenaline running through your body. I had to learn, and it took me a little bit longer than most, of learning what my body does and how it reacts in a situation, and be able to combat that. And I did learn a lot there in 2015, and then in 2016 I made the show at the TSC in Oklahoma, and to that point I bowled the best physical game I had ever bowled on TV. I think I only bowled like 210 or 220, but I physically threw it well. I got beat by Tom Doherty. He threw like a 7-bagger to end the game to beat me. So, it's one of those things where I didn't beat myself finally. I just got beat by my opponent. And that's a lot easier to handle than beating yourself. So when I came home from that event, I told my dad, I said, Dad, I finally figured out how to bowl on TV. I feel confident in what I'm doing. I said, the next time I'm on TV, I'm going to win. Fast forward about 6 months later in Detroit, I was on TV. I was made the show at the Bear Championship, and I won. And then I won another title with the team, and then we go back to the World Championships. I lead again, and I just feel I have a lot of confidence in what I'm doing. And obviously, I think it showed on that TV show when I bowled a good game. I think I bowled 240 or something like that against Smalls. It was kind of a different scenario for me because I didn't really have a lot of pressure put on me during Smalls didn't bowl a very good game, and by the sixth frame I think he could have only bowled like 220 230, and it kind of slipped away from him a little bit, but I didn't have a ton of pressure coming down the stretch the last couple of frames there, so that certainly was nice.
I think if I jumped as high as you did into your father's arms, I would fall, and I think I would not. If I jumped into my father's arms like that, I'd probably knock him out. You are.
Well, luckily, my dad's a lot bigger than me. So
that was awesome. What would you say is your worst moment on tour?
Worst moment. I don't know. I would say, I mean, there's definitely been some bad ones on TV where I've played some bad games. Maybe the U.S. Open that I lost to Simon. That was pretty bad. But if you're looking at one singular moment, probably, I think it was 2021 maybe, we bowled the tour finals in Detroit. And that whole thing is broadcast on CBS. And on qualifying day, I got up and threw a shot, and I got the 6-9 out of the rack. So I got 2. And then the very next shot, I was unaware of it, but I fouled on my next shot. So I went 2 fouls on TV. I didn't find out until the next day because I was pretty hot. I wasn't bowling good. And then and I was just trying to figure out. And then somebody said something to me. I'm like, what are you talking about? And so I went and asked. Sean Perry was layman at the time, and he was doing the foul line judge. He goes, yeah, you fouled, but I just decided not to tell you because you were already pretty hot anyway. So.
Oh man!
And it was kind of irrelevant to what was happening. It didn't change anything at all. I was still going to be where I was, whether I got a foul there or I got the spare. So it's probably one of the biggest lowlights of my career.
That's all right. I mean, listen, I remember when you first got on tour. I remember you struggled for a little bit before you won, and now it's like I don't remember the struggling EJ Tackett. I remember. I know the guy that's 21 times a champion, 2 times player of the year, and is going to be in the Hall of Fame very soon.
I got 8 years left before I can go in the Hall of Fame. I got to get my 20 years in first.
That drives me nuts. Doesn't that drive you nuts? I mean, I don't know if I like that rule. No?
No, I think it's something that's earned, right? You put in your time. It's like earning that retirement, right? From your job. You got to put your 20 years in to earn that retirement. So I don't see anything wrong with it. We dedicate our lives to the sport already. So most of us, almost every single guy out there is going to put 20 years in that, if you bowled well enough to be Hall of Fame eligible, there's a good chance that you're going to be out there for 20 years anyway.
Yeah. Well, here's a guy that you probably never heard of. No, I'm just kidding. Adam Limmery says your best moment was in 2016 when you won the World Championship. I kind of agree, but
yeah, that was a great one. But for me personally, I think the U.S. Open tops it.
You know why? Because the U.S. Open, I remember that because it was last season, and you were yelling like when you win, man. Your emotion, like you yell, you're like like it meant a lot to you.
Yeah.
You're somebody like there are bowlers that bowl like they don't give a damn. You bowl like you give a damn. What is that about? Is it because you're trying to put food on the table, or I won the U.S. Open, I get that trophy?
Yeah, I mean it's all the above. I mean I'm at the point in my career now where I don't have to worry so much about putting food on the table. Right? I've been very successful. I'm investing into things. Me and my brother are going to take over this bowling center this summer. You know, I'm trying to put my money to work for me, so that way, you know, one day I can retire. So um, it's not so much about that. It's about winning. That's why we do what we do. And that U.S. Open, being in the position I was in, and I know I talked about it a bunch in a bunch of interviews, but you know, when I was young, I put myself in that position. It was always the U.S. Open. It was always I need to throw 2 strikes in the 10th to beat Norm Duke to win the U.S. Open. You know, and I told myself that, and I put myself, and I made myself nervous doing it. You know, I was 10, 11, 12 years old, and you know, in that moment, it's like, okay, I've done this 1,000 times. It's just the guy I'm bowling isn't Norm Duke. That's the only difference. But I have practiced this 1,000 times, done it before. And, you know, I've had a lot of struggles in my career. So to get up and be able to throw really good shots and have the fortune of all 10 going down was, I mean, there's no way to actually describe the feeling that I had after I knew that I'd won a championship, especially after leading by so much the year prior and not bowling so good in that title match. It was an unbelievable feeling.
I'm going to ask you a bonehead question that I probably should know the answer to, but I think I figured it out. Is EZ Bowl named after you and Zach?
It is. It is. So it's E-N-Z Bowl.
Oh, okay. Yep. There you go.
Yep.
All right.
That was actually my dad's dream to always name the bowling center that. So when they sold the bowling center they had previous, they came over here and bought this one, and they changed the name to EZ Bowl.
Nice. That's awesome. Can it host a stop, you think?
I doubt it could host a televised event. We have really low ceilings in here.
Oh, okay.
I just don't think it would work. As much as I would want it to, it'd be really, really cool. I just don't think it would work. And we only have 22 lanes, so it would be very difficult because
You've been to smaller.
We have, but
you've been to Bayside.
We have, but at Bayside, it was a different, you know, type of deal. It was all match play. There was no qualifying.
Right.
You know, the only thing that I think we could ever even host here would be like like the playoffs or like a tour finals.
Yeah.
Would be the only thing that would be possible. We couldn't do anything in here that involved any qualifying.
Sure.
The bowling center is just too small.
You know what? I sent you a friend request on Facebook, but I'm gonna send Natalie a picture of I'm bowling in a tournament in 2 weeks on the 6th of April in Wilton, Maine. Meadow Lanes. I think the ceilings are lower there than they are there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty short here.
Yeah. I will see. Do you have anybody on TV that you have their number? Like you beat them a lot?
No, I don't think so. You know, I've bowled so many shows and bowled so many different people. Obviously, there's several guys that I've bowled a bunch of times. Belmo, Simo, and Kyle. I've bowled those guys a bunch of times. And honestly, those 3 guys, I have a losing record against. I don't think I've ever beat Simo on TV. I think I'm over on that one. I think I've only beat Kyle once or twice in all the times we've bowled. And obviously, me and Belmo have bowled so many times. I think we've bowled almost a dozen times against each other. But Belmo's winning it. I think it's like something like 6-4 or something like that. And those aren't all for titles. That's just head-to-head matches against each other on TV. So
yeah.
No, I don't think, and I never would think that anyway, that I had someone's number, because anybody can bowl a great game at any time. We're all the best players in the world, and everyone's capable of bowling a great game at any time, no matter who they're bowling.
If I get hot, I could probably beat you one day. Who knows? You never know.
Hey, it's possible. It's in a one game match, anybody can beat anyone.
Absolutely. Is there anybody that you might have mentioned it, but is there anybody that has your number, you think?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to say Simo, I don't think I've ever beat him on TV. So
yeah.
And I saw the stat when we bowled each other in Missouri that I hadn't beat him yet. We've had some close matches. Obviously, the one in Missouri was a close match. He had to get up and double, and he did. So, it is what it is.
Sure. So this season, you're bowling bracket match play, and then obviously in the past you've done round robin. What's your favorite match play format?
My favorite is the one like the one we bowled in Anderson. It's the one with no bonus pins, no match play. It's just straight pins. Whoever knocks down the most leads the tournament. That's always going to be my favorite, no matter what. It's the golfer in me that, whoever gets it in the hole in the least amount of shots is the one that wins the tournament. I think bowling should be the same way. The guy that knocks down the most pins for 32 games should be the one to lead the tournament. And there's no other factors. You're able to, kind of focus on your game. Where just like in golf, you're able to focus on your game. And it's you against the golf course, and you're just trying to get the ball in the hole as quickly as possible. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying to knock down all the pins as quickly as possible. So, it kind of turns into golf. If the person that throws the least amount of shots probably going to lead. Because if you throw the least amount of shots, you're throwing the most strikes.
Right. So the Indiana Classic that was this year, that was all there was no match play. That was all qualifying.
No match play, and no best of sevens. Okay. It was just they call it an eliminator format where they bowl. We bowl 18 games of qualifying, and then we bowl 6 games. So it's 36 games, I think, for that. So it's 6 games with the top 24, and they cut to 16, and then they bowl 6 more and cut to 12, I believe, and then they bowl 6 more, and then your top 5 make the show.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of an eliminator format, which I like. My personal opinion, if doing it that way, the way I would personally do it is cut to whatever number you're cutting to. And all of those guys bowl the other 18 games. It's just like in golf. You play 36 holes with a cut on Friday, then everybody plays the next 36 holes to try to move up the leaderboard. And, some guys move down, some guys move up, but then you have 18 games to try to get where you need to get to. And if someone, say they take 24 and do it that way, you have 18 games to try to, maybe you can't get to the show, but you might be able to get into the top 10, where if it's just 6 games and cut to 16 and you've made it to 17th, well, now you don't get those other 12 games to try to get to the top 10. So if I personally did it, that's the way I would do it, because I think it's the most fair way to run an event. Everyone is 100% in control of their own destiny. And if you didn't make the show, it's on you. There wasn't no, bad breaks in match play, or I lost this 30 bonus pins to this guy that was in last and I was in 7th. None of that happens, where it's just straight pins. Obviously it makes it, I guess, a little bit more boring for fans to watch. But in my experience with it, every time we've done it, there's been so many guys that are mathematically have a chance to make the show when that last game comes around. If we're taking the top 5 of the show, almost every single time we've done it, almost everybody in the top 10 had a mathematical chance to make the TV show. And that's where the excitement really comes from, in my opinion. It's 35 games of build-up to this one game to see who can jump in, who's going to fall out. Are the guys that in going to be able to bowl good enough to stay in? Is this guy in 9th going to bowl 270 and jump himself into the show? So it's kind of like a crescendo building up to that excitement to make the TV show.
All right. So what would be your go-to TV format?
I think if you lead tournament, you've already won the tournament once. And I think if you're the tournament leader, whoever makes it there should have to beat you twice to win the tournament. Because if I have to win the tournament twice to win the tournament, everyone else should too.
Okay.
And, if it was up to me, there wouldn't be any TV.
Okay.
It would be you bowl 36 games,
And then that'd be it.
and well, it'd be like golf, right? So
Yeah.
but it's really hard to show all of that in a bowling center, and I understand why the top 5-step ladder exists because of the difficulty of airing that on TV. It's nearly impossible to have enough cameras that are high quality like they use for the TV show. It's almost impossible. The design of the bowling center would have to be it'd have to be designed for it. You know, every bowling center that we go into wouldn't work for doing that.
Okay.
So I understand why it is what it is, but I think anyone that leads a tournament, they should be rewarded more so than just being guaranteed second place. That person's already won the tournament once. And at the Masters, they've started doing that again with the format where you have to beat the guy that hasn't lost yet twice.
Right.
Which is the way it should be. When the year that I led the Masters, it wasn't like that. So I'm glad that they brought it back because that's the way the tournament was designed and the way it was played for years and years and years. And it definitely should be that way. But I do think other events should be that way as well. Where if you lead the tournament, I feel like you've already won it. So someone should have to be the tournament leader twice, in my opinion. I think would be the best solution to TV. Obviously, you got to build in that time every single time for the TV show, which is difficult too. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no. That's what I wanted. That's why I have this show, and this is Flush in the Pocket, presented by Brunswick, sponsored by Just in Time Recreation. Check him out at justintimebowl.com. EJ is our guest, and he's awesome. And bowling with Diallo. If I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize. EJ, you're the best, and definitely
thank you.
One of the best. And I love watching you bowl, and I'm glad that they have TV because if it wasn't for that, man, I wouldn't know to talk to people like you. So I'm so glad that they have this. So, what would you say is your favorite tour stop?
Favorite tour stop? It's hard to pick one. There's so many that the proprietors do so much for us while we're there. They really take care of us. Woodland Bowl's always been, one of the best. They feed us a couple of times while we're there. They always got snacks and drinks out for us. And I feel like they've always taken care of the bowlers there pretty well throughout the history of Woodland Bowl. Man,
how far of a drive is it to Woodland?
About an hour and a half.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're good. But there's so many places that do good. One place we've had national tour stops before, and it's actually where the trio event is going to happen this year, Jonesboro, Arkansas. The ladies there at Hijinks they're unbelievable. They take care of us so well. They treat us great. And then the last stop that we had in Delaware, they treated us really well there too. They're got a bunch of drinks and snacks out for us. They do stuff for the bowlers, and they show us that they care that we're there. It's really nice to walk in a bowling center and know that the host or the proprietor, whoever's doing it, actually appreciates us as much as we appreciate them.
Yeah. What can you eat or drink during an event? Obviously no alcohol, but can you eat anything you want, or is it just?
Yeah, they don't really have any restrictions on it. Obviously, as players, we're not going to really do anything that's super messy because we don't want to get it all over ourselves. And we also don't want to, create a dirty environment for the next guys coming in. So a lot of times while we're competing, it's a lot of stuff like bananas and granola bars, apples, little packaged snacks, stuff like that is typically what guys are eating while we're in competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And Adam says Jim Doty was incredible, and rest in peace, Jim.
Yeah, he
Um,
was.
yeah, definitely. Where is your least favorite tour stop that you struggled at? Not because you don't like the place, but like where do you struggle at?
Um, well, that's hard for me to figure out because I've had so much success in so many different bowling centers over the years.
Mhm,
Um, I don't know
mhm,
because I've had ups and downs in a lot of bowling centers where I've always bowled really good at Woodland. Thunderbolt Detroit, I've had a lot of good events there. I've had a couple not so good.
mhm.
Um, so where we just bowled in Delaware, I've had really bad there and really good. I've almost won 2 titles out there.
Oh,
Um,
all right.
so I don't really have a place that I bowl
Wow,
really bad at.
okay.
Um, there's and I can't say if we've only been to a bowling center one time and
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't bowl good, I can't say that it's my least favorite because I only had one chance at it. And most of the times when I get bowl at a bowling center 3, 4, 5 times, I'm able to kind of figure out the characteristics of the bowling center and at least have some success. I
Hmm.
might not have won a title there or even made the show, but you know, if the year before I missed the cut and then the next year I finished 10th, I feel like, okay, that's a good win. I was able to improve in this bowling center from last year.
Right. No, I am right with you there. I don't eat while I'm bowling either. That's definitely something I definitely try not. I definitely don't do. Maybe a French fry or two, but
Yeah.
that's about it. Um, where does the PBA not go that you wish they would eventually go to?
Uh, there's a stop that they used to go to that everybody said was crazy. That's Medford, Oregon. They used to
Hmm.
go to back in the day.
Yep.
I've heard that place was nuts.
Yep.
But I would love to. I mean, I would love to be able to bowl in a bunch of different states. Like uh, Phoenix would be good.
Yeah.
California would be fun. Be very expensive, but there's a lot of places out there that we've never been since I've been on tour. Like Earl Anthony's Dublin Bowl. I have never
Mhm.
been there. Um, and then I know there's a bunch of places, like in New York and stuff that they used to go to. Yeah, obviously, those are logistical nightmares to get to,
Oh.
and they're very expensive for the players. And I think that's probably why, like California and New York specifically, are probably cost is probably the reason why we don't go there anymore. It's just because it's so expensive, not only for the players but for the PBA too, because they have to room all of their employees. So their cost is exponentially higher as well. So it just doesn't make financial sense. While the tour is trying to build itself back up, and we're on. I feel like we're on a good momentum forward right now. Um, those things just don't make sense yet. I hope someday that they will, but um, there's a lot of states that we just don't go to.
Mhm.
Tennessee would be fun. The Carolinas.
Yeah.
We bowl in Illinois and Missouri, but I bowled in Iowa one time. Um, we bowl in Wichita. Uh, we bowled in Colorado. Obviously, we bowl in Nevada. But
Yeah.
go back to Oklahoma maybe.
Sure.
Uh,
Absolutely.
Maybe a couple more stops in Texas again.
Yep. There you go.
Uh, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia.
Yeah.
Like there's so many places that I think are good
Yep.
bowling places that we don't go, and maybe they did back in the day, but
Mhm.
not since I've been on tour. So the list is almost endless of places
Sure.
that
Oh,
we
yeah.
we could
Yeah.
we could go that I think would be fun and make sense, that are good bowling towns.
Yeah. No, I get that because Tennille Grijalva Milligan was on this show, and she she asked me off air, "Is there any dream interview you want?" And I said, "Yes, just anybody I haven't yet, let's make it happen. So there we go. Hey, let me ask you this. What are your thoughts on how cool is it that Steve Jaros is finally going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame this year? I mean, finally, he was a guest on here. He's getting his due. What do you think of that?
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, Steve's a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
Every time I talk to him, it's always just such a great conversation. He's just such a wonderful man, and it's really cool to see him get in the Hall of Fame. And then you put Tom Hess on there as well.
Oh yeah,
it's cool to see him get in there. I watched the stream when Tom told him he was going to get in, and he's a pretty emotional guy, so I can't imagine what was going through his mind when Tom told him that he was going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, congratulations to Mr. Hess as well. What's a PBA rule that you agree with that others may not?
I don't know. I've never really thought about that. Never really. It didn't come up too much with rules. I don't know. I don't know, honestly.
Is there one you don't agree with?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. How about something that's not a rule that should be? Still no?
Yeah, I'm just bad at like when the situations happen. I'm so good at like having, some sort of response that pairs with golf, and golf would do it this way or stuff like that. But like off the top of my head, it's just I just always draw blanks when it comes to stuff like this.
What's different about the PBA today that you wish was the same when you were when you first joined?
One of the things I think I wish we had more of is those summer stops. We had a bunch of them when I first came out. Even if they weren't on TV, obviously they don't pay as well, but it was fun to keep bowling all year long, and I enjoyed being able to go to some of those smaller bowling centers, and that's how we ended up in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and it's how I won my first title in Lubbock, Texas. I really enjoyed traveling around and being able to go stop and bowl those events. It was a lot of fun. And I wish, and I hope that the PBA is able to do something like that again, where we have a stretch, of maybe 10 events in the summer that we can bowl. Even if it is for less money. Hopefully it's not, but it's just so much fun to bowl those events and see those proprietors that maybe can't afford to have a national television event, but they can afford to host us for, a bowl TV event. So I would love to see something like that come back, and maybe those events turn into national tour events on TV again. But it's just, like I said, it's just a lot of fun to bowl those, and it's fun to be able to continue traveling the country to different places throughout the year.
What would you say is the difference between, why was last year so good for you?
Obviously I bowled extremely well, and I bowled really well on TV. There's been a lot of times in my career where I've thrown really good shots when I needed to, and they just didn't strike. And last year they all struck. Every time I needed to, and I threw a good shot, the pins went down. And that first event, winning the U.S. Open, that one shot that almost left the 10 pin, but it was able to get out, I think completely changed the course of the whole season. And if that 10 pin stands up like it has for me a bunch of times in the past, I don't know if I win 5 times last year, but it was such a huge confidence boost moving forward that I was able to throw a good shot and they all fell down. And sometimes you got to get breaks that go your way, whether you throw a good shot or not. I threw a good shot and the break went my way. And I was able to carry that through the rest of the season, and it was unbelievable, the season that I had. And I don't know, it's going to be very, very difficult to match a season like that ever again.
Yeah, well, you never know. What's going on this year? That's 5 shows, no wins. Are you thinking about it? Are you trying to? The reason I ask, I'm assuming you know Jimmy Clark, or you've met him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember bowling with him when I was younger, and I would bowl a great game, and then next game I'd be terrible, and he's like, "Well, you're trying to bowl the 220 again." Are you trying to repeat as player of the year, or is it just, or is it just?
No, I'm always trying to be player of the year. That's the ultimate goal
Right.
every single season. That never changes.
Right.
And nothing I did last year has any bearing on anything that's happening this year.
Mhm.
Yes, it was a great season. Do I have a lot of confidence? Yes, I do.
Mhm.
But you got to go out there and win,
Yep.
no matter what you did before. And I think how good the season was last year, kind of put a target on my back, and everybody wants to beat me,
Mhm.
as they should, because if someone else did it, I would feel the exact same way about that person too.
Mhm.
So I just have to bowl better. And there's been some times where I've actually bowled good, and then you just get beat. And what are you going to do? All I can do is continue to bowl well, put myself on TV, and give myself opportunities to win championships.
Right. All right, so we got 8 viewers watching right now. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We got some great guests. We'll talk about that coming up. EJ, we do a thing. I do a thing called going flush in the pocket. When I created this podcast, everybody does 10 questions. I do 12. I know I asked you 19, but I want to, you bowl 300 with your voice, just answering fun questions. We're all flush in the pocket. So the first question is, what is your favorite food?
Steak.
How do you cook it?
The only way you should cook steak, medium rare.
Okay.
Because if you go to Asia, like in Japan, they don't ask you how you want it cooked. They cook it medium rare.
Oh, okay. Do you eat a steak and cheese sub though?
Steak and cheese sub?
Yeah.
Like a Philly cheesesteak
Or whatever, yeah. Yeah.
I'll eat them, yeah. But
okay.
My favorite food's going to be
steak.
Like a fillet
Yeah.
or a ribeye or something.
There you go. What's your favorite music? I think I know.
Country.
Of course. Check out b105radio.com, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do to take your mind off of bowling?
Play golf, or I got 3.5 acres at home, so I spend a lot of time, especially in the summers. I spend a lot of time outside, just taking care of the property, mowing the grass, laying mulch, cutting limbs, cutting trees down that need to be cut, picking up leaves that fall down throughout the season, and just trying to make the property look as good as possible. And, I get a lot of enjoyment out of that. I mean, it's hard work, especially in the summers when it gets hot in July and August, right?
Okay.
But
Yeah.
you can't beat manual labor. So I don't really go to the gym a lot. I'm not a gym rat. I don't work out, like some guys do. But I do a lot of work in the summer. Let me tell you, I always shed a few pounds in the summer. That's for sure.
That's awesome. By the way, congratulations to you and Natalie on the new baby.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hold on, where are we? Okay, so what was your favorite? What is your favorite time of day?
Favorite time of day. I'm definitely not much of a morning person. I like to sleep in a little bit, but like when I do get up in the morning, though, like I said, I'm not an early riser. In the summer I get up a little bit earlier just because it gets light earlier. But the 8-9 o'clock, fresh, sun's coming up. It's summer day. No, not a cloud in the sky. Ready to go play golf. Those are my favorite days.
Paul wants to know who your childhood idol was, and he says, "Congratulations on the new child."
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. My bowling hero it's got to be Norm Duke. Norm is he's just unbelievable. I love him to death. Over the years, him and I have become pretty decent friends, and it's just such a crazy thing to be friends with someone like Norm, right? You grow up watching them do all the great things that they did, and then I'm able to come out and bowl and become friends with that person. It just blows my mind that that every time Norm's around, it's it's always arms wide open, big hug.
Life is
And,
better when Norm's around.
It really is.
He was my quickest yes. I messaged his fan page, and he's hit, yeah, here's my number, and and just what a guy. I mean, super guy. But he was awesome. What was your what is your favorite toy as a child?
Favorite toy? Probably my plastic bowling ball, plastic pin set.
Been there, done that. You ever put a hole in your wall?
No, I never was able to do that.
Okay, well, I would throw it like a real bowling ball, even though it weighed whatever. And then my parents, I would poke a hole in the wall. My parents gave this board and like, all right, look, if you're gonna bowl in the hall, put this board up.
Yeah,
okay, sure, no problem. All right.
I used to put a pillow behind it so that way it wouldn't be so loud.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Where's your favorite vacation spot?
Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
Dollywood?
I've been to Dollywood a few times, but I really enjoy going out to. There's a national park down there called Cades Cove,
Okay.
and it's where I literally grew up there. 2 weeks every summer, my parents used to go down there. I've been going down there my entire life. I love the area. I love being able to go out to Cades Cove. Every time I go out there, there's no cell service, and you're just in nature. And I absolutely love it. It's just the place that I can just slow down, appreciate everything that I have and I've done, and it's just my place of peace.
Yeah.
That I love. I always, and I try to get there every single year. At least for a weekend. Natalie and I will just say, oh, well, we're coming back from this place. Pigeon Forge ain't too far. Let's just go spend a weekend in Pigeon Forge.
That's awesome. You said cell phone. Android or iPhone?
I got AirPods.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Apple.
You got
Apple.
Apple. There you
sure.
go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, sure. That's right.
Because I'm using my iPad right now as we're doing this as well.
Nice. There you go. Yeah, I'm an Apple guy myself. What would you say is the smartest thing you've ever done?
Smartest thing I've ever done. I don't know. I mean, I've done some dumb things for sure. We all have, but maybe the smartest thing that I've ever done was creating an actual corporation for all my bowling stuff. So I was able to create a 401k for myself through that, so I can have some retirement. It's probably the smartest thing that I ever did. Is do that so that save a little bit of money on taxes, so you don't have to pay that self-employment tax, and you're able to write off some more stuff as well, save some more taxes, and be able to put more money away for the future. So that way, one day I can actually retire from this game.
Right, absolutely. What would you say is the dumbest thing you've ever done?
Probably the amount of money I've spent on trucks over the years.
Oh, really?
I think I just put it in a collective group.
Nice. All right. So I've asked this to a few people, especially the reps. All right. So you're on Motive staff, and you're probably going to spend your whole life with them.
I don't plan on going anywhere. So
hey, good for you. Who is your Motive staff fantasy? One bowl. Let's say you have say on who joins Motive, right? One bowler that would come up to you and ask for a contract, past or present, or past and present.
Oh, past and present.
Sure. That you offer a contract and they say yes. Who is your ultimate Motive dream?
Oh, well, in past, I'd have to say Norm Duke, because that would be just so cool.
I can't see it. I can't see it, man. That guy's a storm guy. Oh,
I know.
Yeah.
And present right now,
Mm-hmm.
that's hard. There's two guys that it's hard to put one or the other.
Mhm.
One's younger, one's a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably pick the two guys that I would say.
Belmo and Simo?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, it's two of the obviously Belmo's the biggest name in our sport.
Right.
So, anything that brings him on would be huge for the company as a whole, and it just is better for everybody that's involved with the company, right? And it would be really cool to be on the, bowling with Jason Belmonte on the staff, right?
Yeah.
And then Simo would be the one that, okay, well, he's only 26 or 27, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, if we had Simo, we've got Simo for the next 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So John wants to know, has the cost of things made you selective on what events you bowl during a tour season or after the tour season ends?
Not really. I mean, if it's PBA involved,
Mm.
especially if it's for a title, I'm gonna go bowl. I didn't go bowl in Sweden last year. I had some other stuff going on at the same time, and I decided to stay home from that one. But those are the ones overseas now would be the ones where you have to kind of pick and choose, I think, where you'd have to go bowl the ones that have several events because flights are so expensive and hotels are so expensive and everything like that. But I've bowled some events like out in Virginia. They run a couple of super regionals, or a super regional out there with a regular regional leading up to it. So it's like you bowl like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the regular regional, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you bowl the super regional. So it kind of makes it worth it. You get a whole week of bowling, 2 chances to, make some money for the week. And it definitely helps, stuff like that. But if it was just one event on the weekend, as those events normally pay, at least in the past, they've paid $10,000 to win. So I would definitely go out there for that. Even though it's just a weekend, I for sure would go out and bowl. I always have. So I'm not that selective. But I probably wouldn't go to Virginia to bowl a regional for 2,500.
No, of course
not. Because it just wouldn't make sense. But regionals in our region, yeah, I'll go bowl them. If my schedule permits it. If there's a tournament, this is what I do, right? I love to compete. You can't replace it with anything. Competing, trying to win championships, you cannot replace it with anything. So, every chance I can get to go, especially for a PBA title, whether it be a regional or a national, there's a good chance I'm going to go bowl if I can.
Paul says Belmo needs a change. He's in a funk, and he wants to also know, have you helped in the development of any newer releases with Motive?
Yeah, I mean, I've been helping with ball testing for the last 5 or 6 years. So Brett actually comes to our center. He only lives an hour away, so he comes to our center quite often, especially during some time off. Like he was here last week, and we did some ball testing last week. So, even if I'm not bowling, I'm standing there watching him throw the shots and seeing if my eyes see something different than his eyes do, and we're talking about what's going on. But sometimes I bowl too, and we're throwing the same exact balls. He also uses turbo switch grips, and he made his span and finger pitches basically the same as mine. And then when we drill them, it's just pin above the bridge, CG right on the center line, so that way you can throw it right or left-handed. So we'll actually throw the exact same bowling balls down the lane, and we'll go through. Sometimes there's only 3, sometimes there's 6, and we get through them, and then at the end we'll talk about which one we like the best, but we won't say anything while we're doing it, and see if we end up with the same ball that we like the best.
Okay. So it's not, when you say the exact same bowling ball, I'm going to use your Venom shot. like the one that you just threw, or a venom shock?
Well, what I mean by that is when they send 6 test balls for me and Brett to test, I'm throwing those 6, and he's actually throwing those 6 as well. So there's not 6 for me and 6 for him. It's
That's what I
6 that
thought.
we both throw. So when we're testing them, we're actually throwing the same exact 6 bowling balls because of how he drills them. I can actually get my hand into them. It's not a perfect fit, but it's close enough for me to be able to throw them down the lane and get a gauge of how the ball rolls.
Right.
So that's what we do, and a lot of times we end up on the same bowling ball that we like the best. Right. So Brett and I work pretty well together, how we see bowling balls and what we're trying to look for out of the bowling ball. And knowing, kind of knowing a little bit beforehand, like, okay, where is this bowling ball supposed to fit in the ball chart? So that way we have an idea of, okay, this ball's going to be a more skid flippy ball, or this ball's going to be kind of early and hook, or, whatever it may be. We're able to, like, okay, this ball's picking up in the part of the lane where I think this ball should pick up in.
Yeah.
So that's good information to know. And that's about the only information I want to know beforehand is, where is this ball kind of supposed to fit on the chart? So that way, in my mind, I can say, okay, this is where I think this ball should fit based on the other balls that we already have. And then Brett's doing the same thing. And then we come up with a consensus of normally one, 2 balls that are pretty close, that maybe I like one and he liked the other. And then we'll talk about that. And he'll call back to the office and give them some input. And then they might make some tweaks off of that 1 or 2 balls. And then we might do another test. Or if a ball's so good, we might just say, okay, that one's so good, you're not going to get better than that. And then the test is done. Sometimes the test will be 1 or 2 batches, and sometimes tests take 5, 6, 7 batches to get the ball right. So we do a lot of work. Brett does a lot of work with ball testing to ensure that the chart is getting filled in the proper way with bowling balls that make sense.
Yeah. Paul says that his primal rage, I'm assuming, is a beast, and so is the original Forge. Is it the primal? Is there a primal in the primal rage, or is that?
Well, there's a primal shock, and you have the new primal shock too. So
okay, yeah, sure.
Not sure, but there was several primals. There was a primal TV4. There was a primal Impulse. There was a primal remix. There was the original red primal. There was the 5-year prime. It could be any of those.
Sure, absolutely. What is your favorite beverage, EJ?
Dr. Pepper.
There you go. That's good stuff. You know what? We talked off air about a video. He says shock, but we talked about on off air about a video that you did for somebody recorded you giving a young boy a ball. He'll never forget that as long as he lives. And because of that, I really think you're like one of the nicest people ever. And it really does. It takes a guy with a heart like yours to do that. So my last question to you is, how do you want to best be remembered?
For stuff like that, obviously, I want to be one of the best bowlers that's ever played the game. Hopefully the best. I've got a long way to go to even get close to that. But you have to be able. I want to be remembered for pushing the game forward in a positive way, in any facet that I can. Whether that's inspiring young kids to become bowlers, whether they come on tour or not, just having them in the bowling center and bowling league, and having the sport thrive. That's the kind of stuff that I want to be remembered by, and it's part of the reason why I go and do so many clinics. Obviously, I get compensated for doing that for my time, but it's promoting the game in a positive way. Being able to do that, and Sean Rash does an incredible job. He was the one that set that one up. I think last year he said he did, it's like 28 or 32 events last year, I think he did. And those weren't all in the US either. He did stuff in Asia and Europe as well. So he goes all over the world promoting bowling. And I'm always so happy every time he gives me a call and says, "Hey, are you available these days to do a clinic?" And almost every single time, yes.
Cool.
Yes, I'm available.
Man, I hope to see you in Maine this year. Maybe at another clinic at now IBC Interstate Bowling Center. Donna and Oliver bought that, so that's good that they're bringing that back. Paul says, "Good luck to the Masters and the rest of the season." Let me ask you this: what are your goals for 2024? What makes this a satisfactory season for you? What needs to happen, and what else do you want to do in your bowling life that you haven't done yet?
Well, I mean, this season for me to be satisfied is winning Player of the Year again.
Okay.
That's always what satisfies me at the end of the season. But just going and continuing to bowl well. You know, there's so many things that you can't control, especially on TV, being one game matches. There's so much that you can't control. The only thing you can do is go out there and bowl the best game that you can. And in Delaware, I bowled a good game. I threw one bad shot that I ended up getting a split. I made the split, but I threw a lot of really good shots, especially on that left hand. I had a ring 10, and a blower 7. You know, if one or two of those goes down, I move on pretty much. It's just the way that it goes. So putting yourself in position to win championships, bowling well, whether you win or lose, I can hang my head high knowing that I did everything that I could. And sometimes, like I said, sometimes you just get beat and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, definitely. EJ, man, thank you so much for doing this. I hope you had fun, you know?
Absolutely.
Our next two guests you might have heard of them, Guppy Troop on the 29th. And you know what? And I know that he's Kyle's dad, but he's Guppy Troop. The guy's got 8 titles. And I mean, the guy's in the Hall of Fame. He's great. And that one's going to be called A Fishy Bowling Story. And then on April 4, we got Dale Eagle. So yeah, that's going to be awesome. Hey, listen, man, I got a question for you off air. Just hang on real quick. Everybody, thank you for watching. And this has been Flush in the Pocket, presented by Brunswick, sponsored by Just in Time Recreation. Check them out at justintimebowl.com and like and subscribe to this channel, please and thank you. And I'll talk to everybody next Friday night. I'll be back home. So back home in Maine. So all right, I'll talk to everybody later. Hang on.
All right. Thank you.